It's 1999, and after starting a video game, you are met by a smooth cinematic rotoscope cutscene with the protagonist dynamically parking his Ferrari and entering his secret base. Then he casually sips on his drink and activates his Hadron Collider, a typical household appliance, which results in a life-changing failed experiment, sending him somewhere no other human has ever set foot. What a climactic way to start a game. Even today I would be pleasantly surprised by such an introduction when playing an indie title, but ago it must have been a far more intense experience. And then the game turns out to be a cinematic platformer, and a pretty one as well. Given the hardware limitations, which were so restrictive that even the number of colors that could be displayed in one scene was limited, it was a great achievement. Very pretty backgrounds, nice character animations, depth animations, the character's movement, a coherent artistic direction. And then you learn it was made by just one person, Eric Chahi. Well, not entirely. Music, ports, and to some extent quality control were done by other people, but the core, the game itself, was made by just one person. He was inspired by Dragon Slayer port on Amiga. If you don't know what Amiga is, it was a series of personal computers made by Commodore. Dragon Slayer cartoon-like graphics, although impressive, were ditched for the sake of polygons. Eric recorded things like a moving toy car and a hand reaching for a paper gun, and then translated them into the game with the use of rotoscope animation. Another World 20th Anniversary Edition even comes with a PDF where Eric describes his creative process. It's short but utterly fascinating to read. And there is a short documentary. Even though Another World, or Out of This World in the USA, didn't pioneer the cinematic platformer genre, the original Prince of Persia from the 1989 did, the entire cinematic part was done much better. I keep talking about those cinematic platformers without explaining their importance. The whole movie-like experience is usually achieved nowadays with 3D graphics in AAA titles with the view from first or third person, but back in those days it was impossible due to the technological limitations. For example, if someone in 1989 came up with an idea for Uncharted, they would make it a cinematic platformer. Our protagonist, Lester, moves like a cinematic platformer character should, with a certain weight, delay, inertia. He will jump, fight, solve puzzles, he will pick up an alien gun, he will meet an ally, and will fight his way out of the hostile environment he was thrown into. Regarding the length of his journey, it's complicated. Any gameplay or info from howlongtobeat.com will tell you that the game lasts around 30 minutes. If you play Another World for the first time, it will take you way more time than 30 minutes to beat the game. The game, in its old school manner, has no tutorial. The modern version has an instruction if you're into spoilers. The controls are reduced to just 5 buttons, but figuring out all available functions by yourself can be a bit tricky. During a blind playthrough you will have to explore the full unexplained functionality of the game through trial and error. Modern games like Limbo or Inside, while also using only about 5 buttons or keys, have more simplified uses for those buttons, and their whole interactivity is introduced in a more intuitive way, even still without the tutorial. But hey, this is how games were designed back then. You will also spend some time simply exploring the levels, checking out where the corridors lead and what can be done there. The enigmatic aspects of the gameplay don't end there. Sometimes you have to figure out what Eric had in mind when designing the level, and you will have to figure out how to progress further. The most memorable moment to me was when I killed all opponents and the level seemed like a dead end. It turned out that I killed one of them not only too quickly, but I also didn't trigger him to use an attack that destroys the nearby floor. An attack that appears only when you face your opponents not too close and not too far away, and in a crouching position, and he has to use that attack at least a certain number of times. Otherwise, the floor is only slightly damaged and you shall not pass. There's also a moment in the game where it feels entirely natural, with our protagonist facing a set of buttons and randomly pressing every one of them in the heat of the moment in order to operate some alien machinery. The 20th anniversary version also has a few bugs, like Lester continuing to run forward despite me not pressing any key, or getting stuck with Kamehameha stuck to his gun and not firing, but they were few and far between. Even with those complaints in mind, I simply cannot say I didn't enjoy this game. The visuals, even though simple, survived the test of time and were slightly refined in the Anniversary Edition together with the soundtrack created by Jean-François Freitas. The titular Another World really impressed me as the setting. I already said it's pretty, but the whole concept and the ideas used in this game truly impressed me. The amount of creativity that went into this game is noticeable. Death animations are iconic. Our alien body is one of the earliest examples of companions in video games and creates an uplifting feeling of having an ally in a strange unknown world, which forms a neat contrast with the feeling of loneliness that is supposed to accompany the player throughout the game. The cinematic part of the cinematic platformer was actually delivered, and I really got the movie-like experience. Thank you for watching, have fun using your Hadron Colliders and embrace the beauty of tourist destinations you didn't ask for.